Once again, I would really like to thank the Movement Watch Company for being a continued sponsor of the channel and today's video. They just sent me a selection of their latest watches called Rise, and I really like that it's mid-size, which is great for my smaller wrist, and has details, new details with Movement watches that are pretty cool. The Movement logo on the dial has some depth to it now, and they wanted to pay tribute to Los Angeles, the same place where the founders of Movement dropped out of college to start a watch company that was stylish and also affordable. Their watches started around $100, which is a big savings over the high markup department store watches since they sell direct to you online. Starting a watch company certainly worked out for these guys, as they've now sold over 1 million watches in 160 different countries. I'm wearing their gold version of the new Rise series because, Miami Vice, but you can get this hustle, as they call it, or a wide variety of colors and styles with the Rise series, and for 15% off by going to mvmt.com, selecting the watch, and using the code HOOVIES15 to get your discount. Movement watches are sold with free shipping and free returns as well, so support my generous longtime sponsor and treat yourself to a Movement watch. Go to mvmt.com and use the code HOOVIES15 for 15% off. Join the movement. Now, back to cars. So here I am as a Tesla owner. You could say that I'm a Tesla enthusiast, and I'm contributing to all this Tesla bashing with that negative headline of mine. Now, I love my Model S. It's about to turn over 110,000 miles actually, and I've had zero problems, but still, there's just no better way to describe this original 2010 Tesla Roadster, the original Tesla. This car was a mess when it came out, and from a profitability standpoint, it was a total failure. And I don't have to worry about getting sued by Tesla for saying this, since Elon Musk, he said it himself. But before I get into all of the issues with the Tesla, which linked below is my column on autotrader.com/oversteer listing all of those, let's go over all the achievements with this car. It's the first full production electric car to have a lithium-ion battery, which also made it the first production electric car to go over 200 miles. That was its total range. It can do 0 to 60 in under 4 seconds, and given that it's based on a Lotus Elise and the battery gives it a lower center of gravity, they supposedly handle great, and it is really good looking, especially this 2010, which was like the 2.0 with its carbon fiber and the red. It's snazzy. I also think Tesla starting with an electric sports car right off the bat was a great idea, as this Roadster helped us V8 loving Americans and burgers and America. We quit thinking of electric cars as weird looking and boring to drive golf carts. You can also throw just about any price you want on a limited production sports car, and since it was electric, it doubled as a political statement for those Prius owners that were associated with that at the time. Remember smug, smelling their own smugness in South Park? But yeah, with all that Silicon Valley money, I imagine this car wasn't too hard to sell to Elon's buddies at its original $109,000 base price. It seems like Elon Musk didn't take his new company too seriously either. I guess when you're a billionaire, rather than having a car collection, that's way too boring, you can just start your own car company. And based on the notes taken by a Fortune magazine reporter at Tesla's 2016 shareholder conference, Musk himself gave the company a less than 10% chance of surviving in those early years when they were making this Tesla Roadster, and said they were, quote, completely clueless, quote, he really said completely clueless to what they were doing. That's really encouraging for this car. But of course, they started with a good platform with the Lotus Elise. It kind of looks like a Lotus, but the final product had to be modified from the original Lotus body so much, it probably would have made more sense for them to just engineer their own chassis completely from the ground up. Musk described it as a house remodel, where the only thing that ended up staying at the end was a single wall in the basement. As the Lotus body had to be stretched to fit the batteries, the suspension needed to be completely redesigned, and the electric drivetrain was obviously a new thing, which apparently it had a lot of issues as well. Now, Tesla thought that they could save money, not just by getting a Lotus body, but also purchasing the licensing rights to a battery setup that they were needing. But that also needed to be completely redone to put into practical use. It needed to be computerized, not analog like a golf cart, and it needed to be reliable, so they made it water-cooled instead of air-cooled. Even with the cost escalating very quickly, Tesla still managed to get this product out on the market, but owners were buying a prototype, an experiment, and they weren't all that reliable. I feel like if I stuck my tongue on those wires, I would die. Early Tesla Roadster owners report battery failures, a demon-possessed tire pressure monitor system, and water intruding into the headlamps a lot. And apparently there's a lot of road noise in the car itself, despite being cutting-edge technology, feels pretty crude. Personally, I haven't experienced this car myself. I've never drove one. I've really never looked at one closely until now, so I'm gonna drive it. I'm not a mechanic or an electrical engineer, but I did stay at a Holiday Inn Express last night, and I'm going to use my vast inexperience to see how well this 8-year-old Tesla is aging. Off we go. So when I first hopped in this thing, it said it had an ideal range of a little over 160 miles. Now, originally, I think this range was over 200, so as far as battery life goes, it has a little over 80%. Around 80% of its battery life remaining, which isn't too bad for 8 years old. And also, this car has 41,000 miles on it. I imagine that's way above average for a Tesla Roadster. Inside of here, it does feel very Lotus-y. The dashboard, I think, is one of the only original components of the Lotus. The steering wheel, I think, is the same as well, but it's interesting how devoid of technology this car is compared to my Tesla Model S, where it's all about the technology. They really weren't thinking about it too much in this car. You have one teeny tiny LCD screen with a very basic amount of information. Really, a Prius in 2010 or 8 was more advanced than this. And you have an aftermarket stereo, normal window switches, but as far as components go, everything seems to be holding up really well. I don't see a lot of excess wear on the interior. This glove box doors doesn't line up that great, but it's probably like that when it was new. So far, I'm impressed. Let's see how she drives. Did that just make the Windows 98 login noise? Very quiet, just like my Model S. Yeah, I mean, it's not bad. Probably give it a little gas. Ah! Hey, that's a little faster than I expected. That's amazing. I'm used to the instant torque of the Model S, but not something that pulls like this. Whoa! Holy crap, it's no wonder owners report that the tires last about 5,000 miles on the rears of this thing. I don't see how it's possible that the new Tesla Roadster is going to be twice as fast. 1.9 seconds 0 to 60? How? Yeah, everything still feels really tight in this car too. Got the handling. Dive in here. Woo! Yeah, that is really good. Whee! Oh. It's like a highly evolved go-kart in the best way possible. Oh my gosh. This is the best failure I've ever driven. It's no wonder that Elon launched his Tesla Roadster into space, because it wouldn't have been that hard. You just point it towards the sky and floor it. Used a lot of range, but I was pretty heavy on the foot. I think this is an ideal range. You can switch it to the expected range was 110 miles. It's not very good range, but then again, you're not taking this car on a long road trip. This is something that you bought to have a blast around town in. Range anxiety, I don't care. I want one. I guess in the early days of the Tesla Roadster, Elon took a group of investors on a ride, and the Tesla broke. It wouldn't go over 10 miles per hour, but my first test drive in a Tesla Roadster went perfect. This thing, despite its higher mileage, it's awesome. It's awesome. I don't see any issues, slightly diminished battery life, but it is 8 years old, so that's actually pretty impressive. So I definitely understand why these things are still going for $50,000 to $60,000. And I'd like to thank the Midwest Dream Car Collection for letting me drive this Tesla Roadster that is not broken. They'll be opening up to the public to show their cars soon here in Manhattan, Kansas, so you'll be able to come check it out for yourself. Wow. Thank you for watching.